Morning everybody. Julia, Kimye, Taekwon. Hope you're all keeping well. We'll start off the class as we always do. So again, just loosening out the body. Roll the neck around. And again, at any stage, members, if you need to pause the videos when you're watching back over these, go through them a little bit longer. And this is not necessarily real time, so trying to cram as much in as we possibly can while I'm here. But use these videos to go over and over again. So we know our usual routine. We just loosen out the body. We're going to warm it all up. Just starting off head all the way down to toes. Okay, so arm swings. So always just go through the motions, double, single, making sure we're covering all different aspects of it. So this morning we're going to cover an awful lot of exercises towards jumping. Okay, this was a request that we got in from Pamela, specifically for those people going for their black belts and going for the higher degrees. Jumping becomes more important. As we go higher in some of the grades in what we're doing for our patrons, jumping is there. So again, we're going to just develop some of the muscles, some of the exercises that I do to practice jumping. We're not talking about jumping and hitting 10 or 15 feet into the air. We're just talking about being able to get the feet off the ground and some of the little tips and tricks that I've used over the years and kind of continue to use now. So again, we can keep working on them. So again, just while I'm talking, continue loosening out the body, all different directions. Okay, ankles. It's just so important to loosen out, members, even long before you warm up. So don't do any stretching, don't do any warm up, just loosen out. Go through, give the range of motion of all your joints, your elbows, your wrists, your fingers, your knees, your ankles, your waist, your neck, nice and slowly. Should be done long before you start any of your classes. Something that you can do, just wake up in the morning, go through a little range of motion, make sure that we're in all good form and good tuning, so keep it nice and loose. Okay, once we get loosened out, we can do a little bit of dynamic stretching. So remember, dynamic stretching is just something where we move, so just from there, swing the legs, stepping back, relax. So again, height is not important. This is just about that little bit of motion in the legs. You don't want to shock the whole body, just relax it out. Okay, excellent. Again, go through other little stretches, arms, opposite side, linking to the front, stretching out, hands behind the back, pulling away from the body, stretching, excellent. Then go through just a little bit of a kind of a static stretch. So again, to the side, pushing hips, change, the opposite side. So if we're not going to put a whole lot of effort into today's class, which is fine, we could do this warm-up real time. If we are going to really build up a big sweat and really go hard for it, I would suggest maybe double or triple the length of time that we're actually taking in here. So again, hands down, over to your left, center, right, center, elbows, hands, and back up. So again, dynamic stretching, just that we're moving all the time, we're not just holding it. That's the type of stretching we do when we're really warm, or after class, at the end of a class, where we really improve our flexibility, but the dynamic stretching is kind of part of a loosening up, warming up exercise. Okay, so a lot of the exercises we're going to do this morning are going to revolve around our legs. So our hands do have an awful lot to play in it as well, but we don't really need to work on our hands other than we'll go through some motion and some techniques that we can do to make it better. At the start, basically start from parallel stance and then just raising up on your heels. So it's getting used to that motion and again building up the strength in our calf muscles that we can be able to spring up off the ground. Because when we go to jump, it's very important that we have that speed, that we can propel ourselves up from our heels and then jump. So again, up and down, up, hold it for 5 seconds, and then down. Just in case you can't see, again up, 5 seconds, and then down. And then we can just start like little rocks. So lifting, pulling the ball of the foot, lifting your toes back, and then rolling forward. So again, great exercise to kind of warm up those calf muscles without going running or doing mad jumping. We don't really want to build up a sweat for this. This is just start working those muscles. Get all the blood firing through them and all the muscles starting to work together. So again, very, very simple. Doesn't take a lot of effort. Up and down. Okay, next one that we've done, we do an awful lot in class. Same idea, because we want to be very careful on our knees on this one. So half a circle, half a circle. So just working, and again, it's just that motion of the knees, because what we find in martial arts, an awful lot of times, especially with high impact kicks that we do, we can damage your knees. So please make sure we go through all the motion, keep them nice and loose all the time. Once we've done that a few times, heels together and then down. So the next one now is you're working on your quad muscles, the upper part of your leg, and you'll notice I haven't gone all the way down. I'm up on my tippy toes and I've gone down enough that I can now just feel that tension in the legs. Then we come back. So the other exercise we do for loosening out our knees, where we go all the way down, because we've now gone past the point of tension on our knees, on our muscles, and then we come back up. For this one, I want us to go down half. Hold it for 5 seconds, back up. Down, hold it, and you'll feel it. Once you know you can feel it in here, heels are off the ground, knees are bent, back is straight. Doesn't have to be straight up this way, just it can lean forward, but just straight, and then back up again. So again, if we get maybe 20 of them, all of a sudden you will start feeling the muscles in your legs, everything's starting to get nice and warm. So it's very, very important in what we're doing. So again, take your time, go through a few of them. It's very, very important we get the legs going into it. So they're the muscles that we're going to use an awful lot for our jumping. So once you've done that and you're kind of back through, I'll just turn sideways, then we're going to just go into that speed, that just springing up. So the trick here is don't bend your knees, because when we jump, we will bend our knees, which will make it so much easier. So from there, don't bend your knees, just spring. Now you're only going to get a little bit. If you can get further, fine, but you only need to get a little bit off the ground. What this is trying to do is just to work up the speed at which we can accelerate the body up. So again, back to that motion, lifting the heels off the ground, just springing up until we get up into the air. So very important, when we jump, anytime we land, try not land flat. You don't want to come down flat, because all that'll do is send shockwaves up through your back and really, really hurt. At the time when we're young, when we're doing it because we're warm, no problem at all. You sit down maybe a few hours time, or you go to bed, you wake up the next day and you'll be like, oh, really stiff. So very, very important, don't ever land flat on your feet, or more specifically, don't land on your heels. Because again, that's just going to do damage. Don't say don't ever do it. Like if you have to do it, you have to do it. But where we're training at all times, we bend. So when we're doing this one, I'm saying keeping the legs straight, because we're only coming in a little bit off the ground. When we get on later on where we're going to jump higher, we make sure that we bend the knees. We absorb the impact as we come down. I'm very lucky here. I've got the mats on the floor. So if we are at home and we've got a solid wood floor or tile or concrete like that, just be careful. Maybe at that case, wear your runners. Something that's going to absorb the impact. Because we don't want it coming back to our body. We want to make sure that it goes into the sole of the runner. So again, once we've gone through the range of these, next thing we're going to do is introduce our hands. And show how our hands can improve and get more height in what we're doing. So like all the techniques we do in Taekwondo, backward motion. Backward, up, backward, up, backward, up. Because what you want to do is you want your direction of body motion going up. What an awful lot of us have a tendency of doing is that we jump and we nearly try and bring the body down. So gravity is always going to be against us. Gravity wants our body to come down. It's just the way it is. So what we're trying to do is use that motion to go from there, swing up, swing up. So getting that full range all the way up as we jump. Height, not important. This is just the exercise going through using the arms. Back, up, and we're going through. Okay. So the next one that we're going to do, members, kind of similar. We're going to just change it a little bit. This time we're not going to jump whatsoever. We're going to start off with one leg. So let's say go into a walking stance. Nice and easy. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bend down, as if we're doing a stretch, and then we're going to spring up. So bend down, spring up. Bend down, spring up. So we're lifting the back knee up. Again, doesn't have to come to the shoulder, because what it's going to be is it's that motion. So as we jump, a lot of techniques when we jump and kick in Taekwondo, we're going to be off one leg. It's quite rare that we're ever going to be off two legs. One leg will be easier. So when we go from here, we will then lift and then spring. So it's being able to build up those muscles again and get used to that. So like I explained, I think when we were going through Yugo, where we duck down like a cat or a tiger, where we bend down. Same idea with this. So we go down and then up. So down, up. Again, we're really working out the knee and the front leg. Then we swap legs. Same idea again. Down and then up. So facing, down and up. Down and up. That's it. When we're finished that one, we can just exchange that a little bit more with some hand motion. So same thing. So from here, up. Here, up. Get the hand going along with your knee, and your reaction hand is coming back. So what you're wanting to do is you're driving your hip along with your knee and your hand and your body, and you'll see that all the direction wants to go up into the air. So very, very important. So again, do that, both sides, go through the motion, nice and easy. Okay, so next one, we're going to just go into a little bit wider of a stance. So not quite a sitting stance, and not quite a parallel stance. So somewhere in the middle. So parallel stance, sitting stance, just somewhere in the middle. So from there, bend your knees. We're going to go through the exact same thing that we just did, but just in that little bit of a wider stance. So from here, bend your knees, spring. Bend your knees, spring. Bend your knees, spring. Without hand motion, without anything else, just springing from the knees. Instantly what you'll notice is that the difference you're coming off the ground, that was maybe 1 to 2 centimeters where we were going straight, has now gone to maybe 10 centimeters, maybe 15, maybe 20, depending. So don't overbend, just a little bend and then spring. Little bend and spring. And if you notice, as we land, we're landing on the ball of the foot, knee bent, roll down to the heel, knee stays bent, and then the knee comes back up straight again. So up, down, and back up. Depending on the height, we don't need to exaggerate the land, but just making sure we land on the ball of the foot, we roll to the heel, meanwhile our knee is bending, takes all that shock out of the jump. The next step from there, we then start introducing our hands. It's the exact same thing. We go from our stance, now introduce our hands. So anybody that's ever been lucky enough to go skiing, similar idea. Down, up, down, up. So now the hands are coming up with the body. Don't tense them. I might have my hands closed, but they're not tense. We don't want any part of the body tense as we're jumping, because then it will go against what we're trying to do. Easiest way to jump, stay relaxed. So as we go from here, hands relaxed, backward motion, and then spring up. Okay, I'm not even trying to get the knees higher like that at this stage. This is again, is just working on that motion from backward to springing up into the air. And you'll notice every time we do this, there should be slight improvements in what we're doing. That's very, very important that we do that. I'll just grab a little step here. So give you something to relate to. So if we have a step, brilliant. If you don't, we can come up with something. Okay, so from there, our parallel stance, just for reference, we go up, up. I won't make it onto that step. No matter what I try, that's not going to happen. I bring my hands into play. I can now feel my toe touching it, but I still wouldn't have anywhere near the opportunity to get up. Getting close, but not enough. We go into our half sitting stance. We bend our knees. Could do that all day long. We then use our hands. It's even easier again. Okay? So again, it just gives us a reference. It is always nice to be able to have a target so you can see the benefit of what we're doing. Sometimes if you're just standing on the ground, it's kind of difficult. If you have somebody at home to help, let them measure and you'll be able to see it. Like I said, it's not a challenge, not a competition, it's just about improvement. You'll be able to see the improvement as we go along, up and up and up. That's what we're doing. Okay, So we're all happy enough with that one. So next one we're going to do, we'll just require kneeling down a little bit on the ground. So back leg, knee down, instep onto the ground, knee straight over the heel of the front leg. So from there, we're going to push the hip forward, hold it for maybe 10 seconds, as far as we can, and then relax it back in. Then push it forward, as far as we can, and then back in. Because it's important now that we're going to jump, that we want to have the inside of the legs nice and loose. So again, same thing, forward. And I mean really, really push. Push that you can feel it. There's no point in going, yeah, it's a little bit, so I mean push. Really drive that forward as far as you can. So it should be nothing on the back leg, it should just be all in between your legs. Okay, then we swap sides, same idea again. So from there and then push, driving it forward. So those muscles that we may have worked a little bit, now we're starting to loosen them out as well as loosening out the legs. So push forward, really, really feel it, and then relax. And the great part is, as soon as you relax, any pain or discomfort that we have should just disappear very, very quickly. So pushing forward, coming back, and relax. Okay, excellent. So this is not majorly stretching, class members. These are just certain exercises that I would do in between, kind of trying to build up some of the legs. So next thing we'll do, members, I'm going to just disappear off the screen for 1 second. Okay, so all I've got is here is a medicine ball. It's 8 kilos. Pick anything that you want. It can be anything whatsoever. Start off something light, then we work into something heavier. So same thing, just linking your hands, grabbing it, whatever way is comfortable for you, just to hold on to the weight. Then we're going to start doing the exact same things. So back to our parallel stance. Just from there, with the ball of our feet, we can just lift up and then back down. Then we go through the jumping, up and down. Then we go into our parallels, or our half sitting stance. So from there, bending the knees, springing up, springing up. Okay, all that is just adds a little bit more weight to it. So you'll notice that we're not going to get as high, but with more weight on us, then when you take it away and you go back to what you were doing, you'll start seeing jumping an awful lot higher. So one of the exercises that we used to do, practicing for a special technique many years ago, was you'd have somebody on your back, like a jockey back, and you would just do maybe a couple of laps around the hall. And what that got you used to doing is it got used to that weight. Then as soon as you take that weight off you, and then you went through the full motion of being able to go through our jumps, with that weight being missing, your body felt an awful lot lighter. So, very good to do. Doesn't make your body lighter at all. It kind of tricks your brain and your muscles into thinking it has to do more because of the weight that it thought it had. When you realise that it's not there, it'll allow you to jump that little bit higher. So, always good practice. Get somebody down. So a little bit of resistance training as well. So that part's very, very good. Okay, so the next one we're going to start doing is just a couple of steps into our jump. So where we went from our walking stance, and we were doing our knee spring, so springing up. The next one we're going to do is we're going to step and knee spring up. So step and knee spring. All we're going to do is that scissors motion. So from there, step, knee, and then swap. Okay, so it's like that scissors motion front smash and kick. Again, don't worry about the kick. We can add that in at our leisure. If you're happy to do it straight away, fine. But this exercise is about getting the knees in an upward motion. So down, spring, up. Making sure to start, we always go down. Very much important part of our sine wave for our techniques and even for jumping. So we go down a little bit, we step, we throw this leg, and then we swap. Hand position at the moment is not that important. When we do get used to this and get comfortable with the step, then we make sure that our hands are going up as well, helping everything pulling the body up into the air. So go through that. That could take maybe 5 minutes. Do a few on each leg, going through the motion. But that stepping motion, very, very important. Okay. So once we've kind of got onto that one, the next one we're going to do will be like a parallel stance. So we go back to our kind of half sitting stance position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, as if we're going to perform a side piercing kick to our side. So two things are going to change now. One, I'm going to rotate my hip a little bit. When I say rotate my hip, I mean it's going to change to this position, not twist. It's not twisting, it's just going to rotate to this position. The standing leg, in this case is going to be my left leg, is going to come up. This time I'm going to try and tuck the leg up and rotate. So I'm not going to worry about my kick, it's just going to go up and out. Up and out. Go the opposite side, up and out. So you'll see the hip slightly twists and my back foot is tucking all the way up. So if you were to freeze frame it, it will look like I'm really high into the ground compared to my little jumps that we were doing earlier on. But if you actually got me to extend my leg, it's still only coming a little bit off the ground. The whole trick now is by bringing the knee up, by bringing the hip slightly back, my kicking leg is coming up into the air. It just further improves the direction that I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go up. That's very, very important. So anybody practicing twiggy, yap, jaggy, so spot, jump, kick. So from our parallel stance, where we have to jump and execute our side piercing kick, always recommend start off side facing. So if the camera is the board, start off side facing and then go through that same motion, up and out. Because what it's going to do is it removes that waist twist. Makes it an awful lot easier because you then don't have to do so many things at the same time. You only have to do a little bit and then you can add to it. You'll find out, start off with small boards, build up, get the easiest board that you have to break it consistently. Change legs, break it consistently. And then what you can then do is change the angle. So go maybe 15 degrees off, then go to 45 degrees off, then 75 degrees off, and then you're going full facing. So at all times, you're just moving closer and closer to it. So from here, it's not as hard as it is when you're full facing. But again, it's harder than it was when you're side facing. So you're introducing the hip as we're going through. But the same motion is always there. We lift the back leg. We're going to spring off the two legs up. So we are rotating the hip to the side, kicking leg, knee comes up, and then the standing leg comes up. If we don't do that, if we end up just doing this, it's very difficult because the weight that's in my left leg is still down and it becomes very, very difficult for me to kick. Flexibility does come into this. If we're really, really flexible, the leg will come up easier, but then it doesn't become a jump. The problem is what you're going to find is that when it comes to breaking, specifically in either competitions or in gradings, the chances of you being able to successfully break before your foot touches the ground become less, because the amount of that is coming off the ground. So as you jump here, it's only such a little bit. There's a good chance that the examiner is going to believe, and probably correctly so, that your foot was still in contact with the ground at all times, or was when you made contact with the boards. So very, very important, get that back leg up and get comfortable with it. So rather than going through and extending the entire kick, like I said, just from there, up. Get used to that motion, get comfortable. You then believe the way your head and your hip twists, and then it comes back. So like previous videos that we talked about, head position over the body, so important for balance. When we jump, we technically have no balance because we're not standing on the ground, but we have to still be able to move this so our body starts trusting the motion that we're doing. So as my body twists, my head doesn't. I'm not dropping my head this way. I'm still trying to keep my head up straight as much as possible. So that will give me a better chance of kicking. Also gives me the better chance of being able to see what I'm doing. What we don't want to do is we don't want to drop the head and this. Now the shoulder's in the way, I can't see what I'm doing. And all at that stage is we're doing is crossing our fingers and hoping that we break the board or we make contact with whatever we're trying to kick. So all of these, make the body nice and relaxed. Keep the shoulders, chest, waist, everything nice and relaxed. Up and then down. If you have a camera, or not a camera, well, a camera for one to record it, or a mirror, or anything like that, be able to see what you're doing, it will really, really help. That you can look back at it and go, oh yeah, I see this hip twist or hip motion from here to here, and has no impact on my head. My shoulders are going back, my head position is remaining exactly the same. I'm looking to my right because there is a mirror there and I can see exactly what I'm doing. So the same idea, so from here, again, just up. And then again, start bringing the leg up and then into that jumping motion. So very, very important to do. So that's our twiggy yapchagi, our spot jumping kick. And that's back to what we had started off with, where it's 2 feet. So when we're trying to do 2 feet, typically the height of the person we're trying to attack is still the same. What we're trying to do now is generate that little bit more power. We may have an obstacle in our way that we need to jump over, or we may just be wanting to generate that bit more power. So from a side piercing kick perspective, if you had loads of room to be able to do that step inside piercing kick and go all the way through, you'll generate lots of power, because the speed and acceleration that you're going to generate as we go through the movement will work. If you don't, use gravity. So again, if we think about it, the theory of force, what we call power, is mass times acceleration squared. So it's either use your body, use the weight of what you have, or do it faster. So in some cases, our max speed is our max speed. In everybody's case, your body is your body. Nothing else you can do about it. Please don't go out and start eating more food. I know in this time we probably all are anyway, but you don't need to eat more food to generate more power. Just go faster. But use your body. That's where jumping is great. So being able to jump up into the air and then use gravity to bring you back down and then kick the target means that you haven't increased your acceleration, but you will, because when you're in the air, things move an awful lot faster. Because you're in the air, you're going to fall. You don't have time to do like step, pause, lift the knee and extend out. You have to do it all fast. So the sense of urgency when we jump is great, but also we have that increased body mass. So for junior members, and I know I say this in class an awful lot, if we have a scales, and unfortunately it really only works when you have like an old analog scales. If you have one of these fancy digital ones where you have to tap it 27 times, then step in it and do a twist, it's not going to work. But if you have an analog scales, you stand on it, it will read whatever your weight is. Disregard whatever the weight is, it doesn't matter. But lift your heels and drop down. Go even further and jump down. And see how much the scales moves. As it increases, has your body got any heavier? In theory, yes. But in practical, no. We've still got the same body. We didn't jump, eat 15 burgers and then land. So we jumped, but just gravity, because the way that it's bringing the body back down, increases our overall mass, our overall weight of our body. So use that when we're jumping. Now, when it then goes to jumping for height reasons, so where we want to execute like a Dwimyo Dolio Chagi, a jump turning kick. In this case, we're going to jump off one leg. The same with a jump front smashing kick. Typically now, jump front smashing kick is straight. So remember, there is no such thing as a high front smashing kick. High front smashing kick doesn't exist, because you should be kicking straight as we're performing a front smashing kick. If we're going high, then we are doing a Napi Chagi, which is a high kick. Changes the direction. The direction is now going up, is not going forward. So Napi Chagi, we can do absolutely as high as we possibly can. So, and that one is the exact same as we would do Dwimyo Apchapazuki, where we step, spring, and swap the legs. Okay? So go through that motion, up and down. You then can change it. In competition, it's not allowed, but for practicing or jumping, we can just jump off one leg. So as we step, take a few steps, spring, and then jump. So you'll notice that leg is already up into the air. I'll kind of go sideways. Is up in the air, and then we spring. Also notice my back leg is coming up by default. I don't even have to think about it anymore, it just happens. So that's what we need to train, is by default our body just does our normal things. So scissors motion, very, very important. But then we can also practice that just singular motion up. And that back to that exercise that we were doing earlier on, up with the hands, it's the same idea. Very difficult to do it just from here. So what I would always suggest is a couple of steps, little relaxed steps, and then spring up. Now remember, when you're taking a jump, look at the difference between a long jump in athletics and a high jump. So in long jump, it's all about speed. So how fast you can run down that runway before you take off and jump into the sand. So if you're trying to jump over, 10 or 15 people for a demonstration, or for whatever reason you might want to do that in real life, that's fine. But that's all about speed. When you're jumping for height, so you want to kick somebody in the head, treat it more like the high jump. And what you'll see them doing is they don't run as fast, they have a longer stride, and it's very, very relaxed. The body's completely relaxed, and then they all bend and spring. So again, that's that lowering down bit and then springing up. They typically will all jump off one leg. It's very rare, I don't think I've ever seen it, that they jump off 2 feet. If they do, they'd be even better than anybody else. So it's all off 1 foot, and then they spring. They do all that kind of weird twisting and landing into it, but it's the same motion. So watch that kind of run up into what they do. Hands, and again, the hands are all driving up. So at the championships, myself and Master Howard have umpired at so many of them now I can't remember. And then you start watching the special technique. And we've noticed in recent years, a lot of the people from Russia are doing very, very well in it. And then we got talking to the coach, and the coach was a former coach of athletics. And you can see it. So in their run-up, it's all the lean back and the lean down, and they go through the full range of motion. I'll try and find some videos of some of those competitors, and I will share them on our channel so you can see. Again, these are jumping ridiculous heights into the air. But it's that motion, they're so relaxed, everything's bent, and then they spring up and use all their muscle groups and the hand position and everything like that to get that extra height. That's so, so important. Okay, so next one we're going to do, just take it that little step further, which just makes it a little bit harder. We're now going to jump up and bring our knees up. So try not, when you jump, try not bring the knees or the heels back. That's a great exercise for warming up the body and loosening out the motion of our knees. But when we jump, try and bring our knees up to the front. So realistically and ideally, you would like to bring your knee parallel to the ground. So as we jump, parallel to the ground, and then we land. So again, using the hand motion, springing up. We can now go into a bit of a wider stance if we wish. So from there, springing up and then down. Get a few of them into your belt. You want to get your heart rate going, try do 10 of them on the spot. Very, very difficult. Your heart rate starts going very, very fast, but it's good. Yeah, it's a really good exercise to get that heart rate going. So, but for this one, because we're just practicing the jumping, it's the motion, hands, spring, knees up and then down. Remember, when we land, ball of the foot, roll to the heel, bend your knees, absorb the impact. Very, very important. Now, what I would then do is just to add to that a little bit, make it a bit more of a challenge. So rather than getting weights, rather than getting anything else, just jump and turn. So from here, we'll face you. So from there, jump and turn. So that's a simple 90-degree turn. Then we can go into it, jump, turn. I'm going to give this one a go. Apologies if it doesn't work. It's going to be right around and then down. So not as good, as you'll see, it gets harder and harder. The more you rotate, the harder it is to get your knees up. Again, this comes back to our trust thing, where our brain doesn't necessarily trust our body. So we have to be relaxed. We have to be able to give it a go. So that jump 360 turn is great when it comes to Chungmu. When we perform Chungmu, we're in Taekwon-Do, we jump and we rotate. Same idea. Don't bend your knees up behind or your feet up behind. You should keep from there up. Keep your knees up to the front, your feet parallel to the ground at all possible. Makes it a little bit easier to do. Okay. So we'll just leave it with one more thing, members, before we go on to the next part of the class. If we have something that little bit bigger. So always one for a challenge. Go something that little bit bigger. So again, back into our half sitting stance. Using our hands, because now this is a little bit bigger. We're going to spring up and then back down. So the actual back down is as important. So try not go spring up and then step down. So spring up, here, up, and then back down. Because we want to get used to that landing as much as anything else. So find something that's big, that's a challenge to you. Like I said, maybe it's another step that we have here. It doesn't have to be that tall. We can just go up and then down. Now, when you've got to that stage, we've got through a few of them, we start trusting ourselves, then we can change it. We can start going that one leg. So from here, up and then down. Up and then down. So you'll notice that I'm stepping because I want to get that motion here with the knee, stepping, up, and then down. And we're really now working that standing leg, and we're springing it and pushing it up into the air. So the higher you have, push yourself up to the maximum. So that's kind of really all that we're going to do, members, today for our jumping. We will start working an awful lot more, but if you practice them, they will definitely develop the muscles in our legs that we need, that range of motion that we need to be able to accelerate up into the air and jump higher. And then we can work on, in class, those flying kicks. So where we have to jump over 2 or 3 people. So, like I said, once you build up the muscles, you'll be able to relax the body, position the head in the right position, everything becomes more relaxed. When it's relaxed, it's so much easier to do because you then start trusting and believing in yourself. Okay, so I'm going to end this class now, members. I'm going to start back in about 2 minutes. We're going to go through the fundamental moves of Patron Tege. So if you're still there, go get a drink, stay nice and warm, and we'll start again. Cheerio. Kimye. Take one. Thank you, members. I'll see you in 2 minutes.